Hello, and welcome to my new art talk. My name is Maria Tarasova, and in this series of art talks, I speak about those works of art which have caught my attention while looking through the auctions, and it is always very interesting to see the work you don't know, but by the artist that you know. And it is inspiring. It's like meeting something new in a person that you know so well. And today I would like to welcome you to the talk about some pieces of the contemporary artist Damien Hirst. So in July at the Christie's auction in New York, there were several works of art by Damien Hirst presented, and two of them were from the famous spot painting series. So the spot paintings are among those works of art that made Damien Hirst so famous. In 2012, all Gagosian galleries in the world, 11 venues, they presented at the same time many representative works from this spot painting series, which envelope the whole career of Damien Hirst, because he produced the first paintings in the early days of his career, and the spot painting series is still going on. So today I would like to show you these works that were presented at the Christie's auction house, and they were created in 2011. So the first piece is Vespula Vidua. This is a screen print in colors with glazes on paper, and you can see the dimension of this work of art. And another piece was also created in 2011. It is a little bit smaller, but still the same print technique on paper, colors with glazes represent these famous dots that cover the white background. And the first pieces in spot paintings were created by Damien Hirst for the Frieze exhibition that he organized in 1988. And so here you can see at this slide those first two paintings made by Hirst, and they were actually directly painted on the walls of the Frieze exhibition, and Edge and Row were the names of these pieces, and they started this kind of endless series. So by now there are 13 sub-series in spot painting series, and there are more than 1,400 works of art in this series by Damien Hirst. So what is this that drives the artist? What was it that at first attracted him to these simplest geometry that we can see in those initial artworks that began the series? So the rules of spot paintings were defined in 1988, and they didn't change much. So this is a spot painting by Damien Hirst, is a minimalist composition with no two colors to be alike. They are the elements of this art space are glossy dots, which are perfectly circular, evenly spaced, and arranged in this grid-like pattern. Spots are flatly painted in bright colors with typically white background. So these are the rules of spot paintings. There were several variants to this scheme. For instance, the diameter of dots could be different from 1 inch to 40 inches. We may see in this huge amount of artworks this difference in diameter of spots, but still the basic rules are repeated. And the series, intended to be endless, is comprised of artworks which embody the whole, the very visual concept of endlessness. And the idea of the dot as the element of the painting is definitely not new, because in pointillism of the end of the 19th century, in works by Georges Seurat, as we can see here, Sunday on la Grande Jatte, this idea of pointillism, presenting the work of art as a piece broken into dots that create the static composition, the grid-like structure, and the elements of this painted surface serve like atoms in the that comprise all elements of the universe. And pointillism or divisionism by Georges Seurat is the model in which the structure of the world is represented in this painted form. And the main object of modeling for Seurat and his followers was the painting itself, the art itself, the technique itself, and the technique of comprising the whole. And by comprising the whole in the limits of the painting, enable the artist to construct the technique of constructing the world. And this comparison between constructing the painting as the world is being constructed made these works of art some philosophical and really fundamental statements. So, as for Damien Hirst, he is definitely one of the followers of Georges Seurat, and we see now representatives of one of sub-series made by Damien Hirst. It's pharmaceutical sub-series of spot paintings. This sub-series began in 2000, and we see here works of art that represent different pharmaceutical, different medicines that create this controversial form of brightness in appearance and illusional state of optimism that these medicines could create in humans' mind. I have to say that it is well known that Damien Hirst created only first 5 pieces in spot paintings by hand, and it was created by hand by the artist himself when he began. But later, these spot paintings have been created by Hirst assistants, and this mechanical reproduction is important for Hirst. It's a source of his artistic pride that he uses this mechanical method in creating spot paintings. And it is important for him because it strengthens the scientific approach to paintings. And dots, just like in Seurat's art, painted visual equivalents to atoms, and dots represent atoms that construct all elements of the universe. And Damien Hirst used to say, if you look at a thing in the real world under the microscope, you find that they are made up of cells. I imagine spot paintings are what my art looks like under the microscope. And I want them to look like they have been made by a person trying to paint like a machine. And so this scientific approach enables to see the inner structure of all the elements that exist in the world. How does the human hand look under the microscope? How does the painting look under the microscope? And so this question is about the essence of all the elements that exist in the world. And in this pharmaceutical series of spot paintings, we see how, as Damien Hirst said himself, they always look happy despite the grid, although there is unease there too, because the colors don't repeat when you expect them to. And so this sense of unease leads to this negative structure. And in the end, the result, as Damien Hirst puts it, the celebration of the horror underlying everything, the horror that can overwhelm everything at any moment. So these perfectly rounded, glossy spots painted in a range of different bright colors, here they are meant to induce the type of hazy eye that one can get from taking the certain prescription drugs. And so they create this artificial optimism and this brightness of the reality that doesn't exist for those who live through the depression. And out of this spot painting series were born color space paintings. They are of the same nature, but of the different structure, because here we have messy dots overlapping each other, and very close to these color space paintings are these this work of art, Virtues, age 9, which was also presented at the Christie's auction. And we can see now the detail of the Virtues, age 9 work of art. And let us go back to those spot paintings, Vespula Vidua and the Vipera Lebetina. So Vespula Vidua actually is a species of stinging wasp. And so in the right of the slide, you can see Vespula Vidua itself. And so what we have here is this scientific dive into the nature of the creature, which is dangerous, which has this capacity to sting and to even kill. a person in certain circumstances. But if you look deeper into the structure of anything that is dangerous, poisonous, it's still the same number of rows of sets of cells, sets of atoms, and again, like with these prescription drugs, they take you away from the nature of those harmful effects that created in your body. And here, the dangerous becomes this kind of bright and optimistic, and this is the illusion of the world's endlessness, although the world and the human being and everything that is there in the world is actually destined to be ended. And this artificial effort to create endlessness with this scientific approach to all those visible things in the world is the only thing that the human can do when confronted with this dangerous and murderous reality. Vipera Lebetina is the Latin for this type of a snake, venomous viper species. The venom of this snake is very dangerous, and it is definitely one of the most murderous snakes in the world. And here again, like you look under the microscope at my painting, Damien Hirst says, and this what it looks like. These are these parts which are there, and you look deep down into the atom nature of Vipera Lebetina, and you see this marvelous bright and static composition here. And here we can say that when dealing with this scientific approach to dangerous things, the questions of life and death, and Damien Hirst goes deep into the philosophy of art and theory of art, and these pot paintings also correlate with those Kandinskiy's inquiries into the meaning of dot in art. So according to Kandinsky, dot is the primary element of visual art. Dot represents tension. It is always restrained, and it is directed into itself. It is the most static and calm element in art. It is immovable. It is not affected by time. And that's why the dot is the beginning of art. And as a representative of atom, the dot is also the beginning of the world. And so in these pot paintings, in these created by the artist in 2011, or in those pot paintings he is creating right now, I'm sure, because this is a kind of the endless creative process that Damien Hirst is so fully engaged with, starting from 1980s. And so this hunger for pot paintings, this quest for this stability in the world, which is still going to its end, this is what art is really about. And these spot paintings are full of these deep meanings because they show us yet another version of understanding the world and us and everything that is in us and around us. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I hope to see you soon in my next art talk, where I will speak about Vasiliy Kandinskiy and not only his theory, but his practice, his works of art. And so welcome to the perspective new art talks in my series. Thank you very much. Goodbye.